every Kung Fu man is trying to do that, to be soft like water and flexible and adapt itself to the opponent.
It is February of 1965 in Los Angeles, California, where a 24-year-old Bruce Lee is in the midst of auditioning for a TV series that will never be made. In 19 months, he will be known to American audiences as Kato from The Green Hornet. In 5 years, he'll discover a truth that will forever alter the course of martial art history. And in 8 years, he'll be the most famous motion picture actor in the world. But that's all in the future. Today, he's unknown.
And you went to college in the United States?
Yes.
And what did you study?
Jiu-jitsu, 2 Japanese arts that were taught to her servicemen during the Korean War. Lee regards himself as an ambassador for Chinese martial art, teaching all who will listen about the ways of the Chinese masters.
Now, you told me earlier today that karate and jiu-jitsu are not the most powerful of the best forms of Oriental fighting. What is the most powerful of the best form?
Well, it's bad to say the best, but in my opinion, I think Kung Fu is pretty good.
Will you tell us a little bit about Kung Fu?
Well, Kung Fu is originated in China. It is the ancestor of karate and jiu-jitsu. It's more of a complete system, and it's more fluid. By that I mean it's more flowing. There is continuity in movement instead of one movement, 2 movement, and then stop.
I see. What's the difference between a Kung Fu punch and a karate punch?
Well, a karate punch is like an iron bar, whack. A Kung Fu punch is like an iron chain with an iron ball attached to the end, and it go whang, and it hurt inside.
Okay.
Lee has studied a system of Chinese Kung Fu for the past 9 years called Wing Chun, and is considered one of the art's most talented.
In a magazine and everything, that when somebody grab you, you will first do this, and then this, and then, and then, and then, and then, thousands of steps before you do a single thing. Of course, these kind of magazine would teach you to be feared by your enemies and admired by your friends and everything. But in Kung Fu, it always involves a very fast motion. Like, for instance, a guy grabbing your hand. It's not the idea to do so many steps. Step him right on the instep. He'll let go. This is what we mean by simplicity. Same thing in striking and in everything. It has to be based on a very minimum motion so that everything would be directly expressed. One motion, and he's gone. Doing it gracefully, not to go, yelling and jumping all over him, but to do that. Excuse me.
Both the American and Chinese martial art communities resent his iconoclasm. For such a young man to stand up against thousands of years of tradition and venerated authority is considered a direct threat to the status quo and its entrenched. By February of 1967, Lee has 3 schools operating in Seattle, Oakland, and Los Angeles that teach his own interpretation of Kung Fu, based on his own investigations into the ultimate truth of unarmed combat. However, by now the young man is openly critical of the traditions and limitations he sees as inherent in the martial arts as they're currently being practiced in America. He believes they lack a solid grounding in reality, consisting of rehearsed self-defense routines that are employed in predictable and patternized rhythms. He notes that real combat is spontaneous, not rehearsed, and is made up of irregular or broken rhythm that a martial artist cannot anticipate, only respond to. Even the championship karate tournaments of the era are non-contact affairs, settled not on knockouts, but on an accumulation of points awarded for blows that never touch an opponent. A victory is determined by a team of judges who conclude which combatant would probably have hurt the other combatant the most had contact been allowed. Lee has no use for such styles of pseudo-fighting, which he calls organized despair and dry land swimming. Lee's research causes him to understand that the only litmus test of a combative technique's worth is whether or not it can be landed effectively on an opponent. Anything that's ornamental is discarded from his style. He retains only those techniques that he himself has determined to be practical in real self of the arts can be attributed in part to his background in Hong Kong, which consisted not of non-contact karate tournaments, but full-contact street fights and challenge matches fought on Hong Kong rooftops. When not fighting against proponents of different styles of gung fu on rooftops, Lee had also fought frequently against opponents who had been armed with knives and chains. In such real-world encounters, referees and judges were not necessary. Rather than